July 20, 1969. Over 600 million people, nearly a fifth of Earth's population, gathered around black and white TV screens, radios, and newspapers. And then, a man in a bulky white space suit slowly descended a ladder. With one small step, Neil Armstrong touched the moon. And with those iconic words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." History was made. But how did we get here? The moon landing didn't come out of nowhere. In fact, it began as a battle, not just of technology, but of power, politics, and pride. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union entered the Cold War, a rivalry that wasn't fought with bombs, but with influence. Then, in 1957, the Soviets launched Sputnik, the first satellite in space. It shocked the world. It terrified America. How could the US fall behind? In 1961, President John F. Kennedy stepped up. He told Congress and the American people, "We choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard." That speech wasn't just poetic, it was a challenge. NASA would now do the impossible. Send a human to the moon, and bring them back safely, with computers less powerful than a pocket calculator. It took 8 years, over 400,000 engineers, scientists, and technicians, billions of dollars, and dozens of failed missions. But in July 1969, a giant rocket named Saturn V launched from Cape Kennedy in Florida. Aboard were 3 men: Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. They traveled 384,000 kilometers through the vacuum of space. On July 20th, Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar module Eagle and descended toward the surface. As they landed, fuel was running out. Alarms were blaring. They had just 20 seconds left of fuel, but they made it. Armstrong stepped down first, followed by Aldrin. Together, they spent over 2 hours walking, collecting samples, and taking photographs. They planted a US flag. Although it looked like it was waving, there was no wind. A rod kept it stretched. They even placed scientific instruments that still send data today. Meanwhile, Michael Collins orbited above in the command module, the loneliest man in the universe. But not everyone believed it. Soon after, some claimed it was a hoax, filmed on a Hollywood set. They pointed to the waving flag, the strange shadows, the missing stars. But here's the truth. There is gravity on the moon, just 1/6th of Earth's, enough to cause movement. Shadows on the moon follow predictable light angles. And stars weren't visible because the camera settings were adjusted for brightness on the surface. Most importantly, hundreds of thousands of scientists, engineers, and contractors worked on Apollo. If it were fake, someone would have spoken up. Even Soviet satellites tracked the mission live. After 21 hours on the moon, Armstrong and Aldrin returned to orbit and docked with Collins. On July 24, 1969, they splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. The world cheered. Even Cold War enemies applauded. The moon landing wasn't just an American victory. It was a human one. It showed what we can do when science, courage, and imagination come together. In a time of division and fear, humanity looked up and believed. And today, more than 50 years later, the astronauts' footprints still remain on the moon, untouched, waiting for the next step. Because this story isn't over yet. History isn't just what happened. It's what we dared to do.